put them in inferior schools, put them in substandard housing, put them in scientific experiments, put them in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastions of higher education, and locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God Damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God Damn America for treating a citizen as less than human. God Damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
You think we having problems now? But our society does a lot that pits groups against one another based on race, and that can also lead to a lot of self-destruction. So we have to always try to avoid interpolarization among peoples who should be allies in the larger struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. And I'll tell people there's plenty of room for everybody in the movement. There's plenty of room for everybody in the movement. I'm not speaking from a script. This is from the heart. Because I didn't think y'all want me to come out here to Indiana and titillate your intellect. We did our own primary empirical research. We did the first demographic, sociological, statistical study correlating environmental dumpings and hazards and exposures to race, sociology, and politics. Because most people say, oh, it's just because they're poor. No, it's race. And the data came up conclusive. It's called Toxic Waste and Race. It's now the landmark study. Now they have a department in the EPA dealing with environmental justice. Why? Because we live in a society where you just can't make a claim. You have to statistically prove a claim. And then get the remedies after you prove the claim to straighten out the situation. Disproportionate exposure to environmental hazards for black people and Latino and other people of color. It's one of the reasons why we have disproportionate cancer. It's one of the reasons why we have disproportionate asthma. Dr. Chambers, who coined the term environmental racism. That was not my intention. My intention was to address our problems from our own interests. When research is done, you have to ask the question, in whose interest is the research being done? In whose interest is the Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males being done? You have to be unapologetic about that and push forward, because there will be resistance to changing the way things are. There's resistance from those who profit off having all these special education classes about our own self-worth. And so when we're having a symposium on empowerment, my presupposition, this is a self-empowerment symposium. This is not talking about charity here. This is talking about how we're going to go through the discipline of self-improvement, self-development toward self-empowerment. I want to commend the Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males. First of all, you're one of the few states that even got one. And your work can help readjust some of the misinformation that's out there. I hope that the results, this good information that has been assembled in this packet and others, we got to disseminate our information. I would love to bring some of the artists out to the school, to tech school, and to your other schools and colleges. The ANC now has to provide opportunity for all these young people who have not had an equal chance in life. I would say, in general, the youth of the day, but I'm particularly talking about black young people. This generation of young people is the best generation of youth that we've ever been blessed to see. They're not the worst, they're the best. And in fact, the culture, which we know as hip-hop, is God's answer to our prayers. But we don't recognize it. We pray a generation to be raised up from amongst us that will be fearless. Because most of us know what it meant to be, to have fear. If you grew up in the South, and Indiana is South Central, I want to commend the Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males. First of all, you're one of the few states that even got one. And Indiana is South Central. Malcolm X had it right, the South is anything south of the Canadian border. We prayed for a generation of young people that would stand up and speak out. We prayed for a generation of young people that if they didn't know anything else, they would know God. They would have a spiritual foundation. The Million Man March. God bless the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for calling for that march. God bless the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for calling for that march. Man March. Brothers didn't wait till the sun came up. That night, there were 300,000 or 400,000 brothers on the mall waiting for the sun to come up. And when the sun began to come up in the east, you could hear the prayer. We started the day off in prayer to God, thanking God for the journey of the 500,000 brothers that came even before the thing started. And then another million showed up. Men of all ages standing shoulder to shoulder. And one time, if people were pushing to the front, we just made some brothers take 3 steps backward. And like a mighty arm of God, 1,000,000 brothers stepped back 3 steps. ABC, CBS, CNN, they didn't know what to report. They came to see a riot. They came to see pushing. They came to see cursing. They came to see smoking dope. They came to see drinking alcohol. None of that happened. On that day, even the criminologists will tell you, crime in America went down. Why? Because we took ourselves out of the paradigm of the oppressor's job, of the oppressor's work. And when I say the oppressor, I mean the oppressor's system. I'm talking about people or race. Because it's interesting to me, we live at a time now, when you talk about these issues, they accuse you of being engaged in reverse racism. We prayed for a generation that would be rebellious. We prayed for a generation that would be rebellious. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used to tell us we should be impatient with injustice, but patient, I like the sister's term, with the victims of injustice. We have to be patient with one another. It's interesting to me, we lose our patience with one another, but we're very patient with the system. Complacent with the system of injustice. Is my man preaching? Yes. I do not believe that the God of justice wants us who believe in the God of justice to accept anything less than justice.
Just recently I worked 2 years up in the juvenile detention center, and I had the opportunity to work in the department of intake. Most kids come in. They come in to dog violence. Although one of my kids had a relative that's a lieutenant, so I took an opportunity to ask him when we saw, and I said, we saw about police and K-9 and stuff. I said, why did the police stick K-9s on these kids, or anybody, especially once they're confined? He said that this is the way they reward these dogs, and my question is, what would you do?
The dog is not the problem. It's how the dog has been trained. We need retraining. The dog should not get gratification off of flesh. Should not be trained to have gratification of eating somebody's flesh. God bless you and thank you.